Hello friends, it's the Dowsing Diva here, and I am so happy that you've tuned in today. Today I thought we'd talk a little bit about divination. And divination, most people seem to think, is just seeing into the future. And that's definitely a part of it, but divination can also give you insight into the past and things that are happening right now. So, let's take a look at a few common divination tools. There are a lot of different ones, but these are some of the ones that you are fairly likely to see. Here I've got a deck of tarot cards. And tarot is a very common tool that's used for divination. And the Rider-Waite tarot card is probably the most common. It's the basic tarot card deck. And this is actually the universal weight deck that I have, which is a variation of that. But there are tarot cards for all sorts of topics. I've seen ones for crystals, I've seen ones for cats, all kinds of things, plants, all sorts of stuff. So really, whatever you're interested in, you can probably find a tarot deck for. Now, when people use the tarot deck for divination, they usually have certain layouts of cards, and each card means a certain thing. It has a specific meaning. Now, one thing that's interesting about tarot cards is they do have some similarities to an ordinary regular deck of playing cards. They have 4 suits, just like a regular deck does, but instead of hearts, diamonds, clubs, and spades, we've got wands, and cups, and swords, and pentacles. So that's something kind of different. But they do have numbered cards for all of those, as well as kings and queens and pages. And the aces that I showed you, of course. Now, another interesting thing about tarot cards is they have other cards that do not belong to any of the 4 suits. And I pulled a few of them here. There's the Death card, the Lovers, the Wheel of Fortune, the Tower, the Fool, there's the Hanged Man, and the Hermit. And there's a lot of other ones as well. And like I said, each of these cards has a specific meaning, and the position in the reading affects what the meaning is, as far as how, if it's in the past, the present, the future, how close it is to you. And also, if the cards are upside down, that can also change the meaning. So that is one really common divination tool, the tarot deck. Now, I think tarot's cool, but it's not really my area of expertise. Something that's similar to the tarot deck are oracle cards, and I have this Gateway oracle card set, which I have, and it's pretty interesting. It comes with a little book that helps you to know what the cards mean. And oracle decks are a little bit more, shall I say, forgiving than tarot decks. They are a little bit more open to interpretation. And so some of the cards you might see here, this one is Healing the Past, and we've got Dwelling in Truth. What else do we have? Accepting What Is, Rising Above. So there's all sorts of different cards with various meanings that will come in an oracle deck. And usually, if you are using an oracle deck for divination, that's often laid out in a specific spread like the tarot cards are. But as I said, oracle cards are a little bit more open to interpretation by the reader. And again, I like my oracle cards, but they are not my #1 divination tool. But still very interesting and worth checking into. And everybody is different. Just because it's not my favorite divination tool doesn't mean that it won't be the #1 for you. You just have to play around and see what you come up with. Now, here's another set of divination tools. These are runes. And let's see here, let me pull some out. My set of runes are made out of wood. And if you see, they are wood rounds, and then they have different runes carved into them. And each rune has a different meaning. And the runes are cast in a specific way. And this is more of a divination tool that's used in the Norse line of divination. And so those are really interesting as well. And again, I am not an expert on runes. Runes are cool, but not my area of expertise. So let me put these away, and I'll show you another cool divination tool. Now in here is a divination tool I use a little bit more often. And this divination tool is pretty interesting. This one is called a pendulum. And a pendulum is great for answering yes or no questions. You can see my pendulum here is already going back and forth. And my pendulum friend, when you ask questions, they will reply, "Can you show me the sign for yes?" Okay, and as you see, the pendulum is headed back and forth again. Thank you. And it is important to thank your divination tools because they are doing a favor for you, doing you a service. So they like to be appreciated. All right. Can you show me your sign for no? If you notice, now our pendulum is going side to side. So if the answer to something is no, side to side. All right, thank you. Can you show me your symbol for maybe or unclear? And if you notice, our pendulum is making a circle, swinging in a circle. Thank you so much. Now, pendulums are interesting because you don't have to have a fancy pendulum to do pendulum work. You can use something as simple as a pendant necklace, especially if it's one that you wear quite a bit, and you can get the same kind of results. See, our pendulum friend is saying yes. Of course, you would rather that I use you, correct? Yes. Now, so pendulums are good for yes-no questions, and sometimes people use a pendulum board, and you can spell things out with a pendulum, maybe get some more specific types of answers. And a pendulum board might be as simple as having yes, no, maybe written on it, and the pendulum can point to it. It may have letters so that the pendulum can spell out messages. Yeah, it just all depends. But pendulum is a really interesting divination tool. And one that's nice because, like I said, you can do it on the fly. You don't have to have special equipment with you. It can be as simple as a necklace that you're wearing. If you want some quick answers, you can take it off and try it out. And it's always good to ask your pendulum, even between uses, to show you yes, to show you no, and to show you maybe. All right, thank you for working with us today. I appreciate it. We'll put our pendulum back in its box. And now we're going to get to my personal favorite divination tool, and that is the dowsing rods. Right here are my dowsing rods, and as you see, they're just simple rods, and they are made out of copper. Now, my particular set of rods is named George and Timmy. This is George, this is Timmy. So that's just the name that they chose for themselves, so we go with that. Now, Dowsing rods are somewhat similar to a pendulum in that they give really good answers, like yes and no answers. Now, George and Timmy, can you please show us how you say yes? Yes. And if you notice, they clicked, they touched. And that's an emphatic yes, like yes, definitely. If it's more like, yeah, kind of, you'll notice that the rods are not touching. And that's more of a yeah, but kind of. It's not as emphatic and definite of a yes. Now, can you boys show us how you say no? All right, when they say no, they cross over pointing toward me. And it's the same kind of thing, because if they touch, it's an emphatic no, no way. And if they don't touch, it's more like, no, not really. And then, if the dowsing rods go out to the sides, it's either a maybe, or most often it's a you need to restate the question because it's not clear or the rods can't answer it that way. And it's hard sometimes. You have to be careful not to ask double questions, like a silly question like, do I like coffee and tea? And it's kind of confusing because it's two things. So let's split it up. Do I like coffee? No. Do I like tea? Yes. And that's accurate for me. So that's just a little kind of tip when you're working with dowsing rods. And there are other things that my dowsing rods can do, which we will get to in other videos. But I hope you have enjoyed this quick little introduction to a few different common divination tools. And as I said, there are other ones, but these ones were just some that I happen to have here that are handy and convenient to show you. So, thank you, George and Timmy, for your help today. And remember to like and subscribe to the Dowsing Diva. Until next time, friends.